Hi, everybody. I'm Pete Christensen,
I'm Coffee Brown.
and this is episode 44 of
Don't Die Dumb.
Today, I wanted to talk about health and a lot of the myths around health and some of the, not miracle drugs, but some of the things that are being advertised now to improve your health. For instance, the drugs that supposedly improve your memory, improve your quickness, and improve your response time. One of the more popular ones is Prevagen, but we're not talking about Prevagen in particular. We'll push that to the side. What about these drugs? Are there drugs that are proven to improve your memory and your mental agility?
Yes, it's called exercise. So, by far, the strongest modifiable correlation to prevent cognitive decline is movement. Keep moving, keep exercising. And also, of comparable strength, is relationships. Maintain your relationships. In fact, there's one evolutionary theory that the reason our brains evolved in the way they did at all is because communication between humans is so complex. The short form is our brains evolved to win arguments. So interacting with other people and keeping your body moving are the best things you can do to prevent cognitive decline.
Now, when you talk about relationships, I find this. If you're living with someone, but not married to them, and you introduce them as, hey, here's my friend, right away it's, oh, that's what we are? That's what I am?
That's what I
We're
am to
friends?
you? I'm not like your
No.
life partner or spouse or...
When you introduce a member of the opposite sex
Okay. All right, get all gendered about it.
as a friend, oh yeah.
Okay.
What right away they go, oh, that's what I'm just a friend, is that it? So you look at your options. First of all, there's life partner, which sounds like you're going into a real estate deal. Here's my partner. What are we going to do? We're going to invest together? It's a little cold, in my opinion. Then the next one is my soulmate. Oh my God! Could you get cornier than that? What are you guys going to go buy incense together? My soulmate, and wear tie-dye clothes? No, that's a little too embarrassing. Paramour? My paramour. Sounds very legal, doesn't it? Here's my paramour, who will soon be the plaintiff once she leaves me. Yes, my lover. Yeah, here's the woman I'm having sex with. What do you think? My lover. Sounds like something David Niven would say about Janet Leigh in a 1970s movie. There's my lover. We're going to make love because we're lovers. Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. Oh, and a lot of guys try and kiss butt with their girlfriend. She's my better half. Oh yeah? Well, then right away I'm thinking, well, what's she doing with you then? Is she shopping down? Is she slumming in your sexual neighborhood? My better half. Cut it out, okay? My life companion. Yeah, it's a little overcomplicated. Okay, well, how long do you plan on living? And are you sure she's there for the maximum effect for the whole thing? And then there's this one. How do you feel about this? When someone says, it's my significant other.
That's actually the term I would have used in that situation. I was married and always introduced her as my partner.
Ah. Well, see, when you're married, if I was to introduce the woman I'm with as my wife, oh yeah, well, there's no ring on this finger. Is that a proposal? Pull the Goldie Hawn to Kurt Russell. Is that a proposal? Yeah.
So, guys, this is just plain a trap. When you introduce the woman that you're with, she is listening carefully for exactly how you phrase that. So I would strongly recommend you have this conversation in private ahead of time. How would you like to be introduced, honey? Something like that.
You can't do that in public. You can't.
No, you have to do it ahead of time. You got to do your homework on this one, or you walk into the trap.
If you turn to her in public and say, well, how do you want to be referred? that hole's digging deeper and deeper and deeper. So
The other way you can try to slick it off is to let them do the introductions first and see what words they choose. But this is one of those situations where they are listening super closely to
my God.
exactly what words you choose, and they're going to read into it. And hey, that's the world. You would have done the same thing going the other way.
Now, you were saying relationships help you maintain mental agility. I should be great at that because every 2 years, whoever I'm with decides they want a new relationship.
So running away is one form of agility.
Well, they wise up. I can't blame them for that at all. So, these so-called mind-improving drugs, they haven't been proven?
They really have not. There's one called Modafinil that's real popular in Silicon Valley, but it's a stimulant. In fact, caffeine does show transient improvements on things like test taking and problem solving and stuff like that, more alertness. But there aren't any magical drugs, and the drugs that are touted as preventing cognitive decline, none of them have robust evidence behind them. There is a drug which has been approved. Well, so this is a good example. So I'm going to take that question and make an example out of it.
Yes.
There is a drug that has been approved, and now Medicare will cover it, so you can demand it. And it's supposed to be for Alzheimer's. There is a molecule in the brain, they're called tau protein tangles, that is a marker for Alzheimer's. And this drug helps reduce those bits of debris that are in your neurons. But there is no evidence yet that getting rid of those bits of debris prevents Alzheimer's. It could be that it's a consequence and not a cause of the Alzheimer's.
Well,
we don't know yet, which is why outcome studies are so important. So people over-inferred, well, we know these tau things are related. If we got rid of them, wouldn't that be a good thing? And the answer is, might be. Let's find out. Rather than, it might be, so let's approve it, a super expensive drug that now the rest of us are paying for, which may not have any benefit at all.
What I keep hearing is, if you're afraid you might get Alzheimer's, you should catch it early.
Yes.
So why don't we all just take that drug?
Because there's a better drug.
What's the better drug?
Exercise, sleep, and relationships. Thanks for asking.
With 55% of the American public overweight, and I don't know what percentage of that is obese, exercise is terribly hard for them.
There is presently no drug, and I don't think there will be a drug, that will do more for you than exercise, sleep, and relationships. And exercise is proportional to where you're at. If you can't do vigorous exercise, do what you can do. Movement is medicine. Keep constantly moving as much as you can. And sure, your mobility may decline over time. Do what you can do. Keep moving as much as you can keep moving, and remain fully engaged. So relationships, constantly doing something that matters to you, and getting enough sleep are really important. Also, avoiding processed foods. These are the things that have actually been shown to have an impact. Genetics is a factor, but it's not as dominant as we once thought that it was. It's looking more and more, from what I can tell, that Alzheimer's is essentially a vascular disease. So the same advice you get to take care of your heart is the advice to take care of your brain, which is a good thing. It means you don't have to memorize 2 different recipes.
Now, both my grandparents had Alzheimer's and my mother had it, which means I'm just one amyloid plaque away from hanging out in a motorhome, sniffing the formaldehyde and trying to pick people off on the highway as they drive by. So I go to the gym 6 days a week. But there was a comedian I worked with years ago, like 40 years ago, named Dick Gregory, who's also an activist.
I remember him very well.
And he told me he was trying to help people in the African American community lose weight, because quite often women will get pregnant and it's terribly hard to lose weight. It really is. So what his trick was, he would have them take 2 tire irons and put on their favorite record and lead the band during the whole thing. Pretend they were the orchestra. No matter what kind of music it was, kind of lead the band, point to the bass player, point to the guy you envision as a guitar. And what happened was, after they did that a while, it was kind of fun. They got a little more energy and they'd start walking. Another friend would do this. He'd tell his friends, What do you like to do in the morning? Well, I like a cup of coffee and watch the news. Why don't you get up and walk to the coffee shop? Reward yourself with a coffee, even maybe a Danish once in a while, once a week, and then walk home. Or find some place you want to go. You want to go down to the gas station, talk to the guy. How you doing today? What's going on? And walk back.
Or listen to the news on headphones while you go for a walk.
Exactly.
You know,
And
with
that
your iced
seemed to
coffee in
help.
your hand. How pleasant that would be.
The hardest thing for me of doing the workout at the gym is going to the gym. If I don't go right away, it's over. I'm not going. So I agree with you. The exercise is important. But one of the main things I see most people do, I'm going to lift 50 pounds.
Right.
And what they make it so overwhelming subconsciously, they don't want to go back.
So,
Go ahead.
from time to time, things come along that interrupt your workout schedule. And so I've had to rebuild my workout schedule from time to time. What I do is more or less my version of CrossFit. So it involves high intensity interval training, cardio in the form of rowing, and resistance training. But sometimes I fall off the wagon for a while. Sometimes it's just things I can't do anything about, like I have a leg problem right now. When I come back, what I do is I just do an easy workout and I write down what I could do on everything easily. And then I cut that in half. And I'll do that half workout the next time. And I'll add 1 minute per day to my workouts. In a month, I've added 30 minutes back in. If I need to, in 2 months, it'll be an hour. But usually I'm going to start at 20 minutes or so anyway. So I'll be up to an hour in just over a month. But I'll never have a hard day and I won't injure myself as I'm rebuilding my workout strategy. And as the workouts get a bit longer, I add more exercises in or more reps or something like that. Same with weight. So if I have to accommodate myself for an injury or something, what I'll do is reduce the weight, but I'll do higher reps and more slowly. And from a resistance standpoint, you get the same workout, but it can protect your joints.
Two things I'll tell you. Number one, you want to go to the gym, but it's expensive. I go to the gym, costs me $10 a month, but it kind of evens out. Everything's so expensive right now. I'm sorry to hear people are suffering. So this $10 a month evens itself out because I'm showering there every day instead of at home, so my water bill goes down a little bit. So consider it. Also consider this. Ask a friend if they want to go with you. Try and find a friend that wants to go with you and tell them, I'll pick you up. That means you'll be letting them down if you don't pick them up. And it gives you more incentive to go there. Also, if you can't afford to go to the gym, I get that. Maybe get a friend to walk with you every day. If you have a friend you don't want to let them down, so you're more applicable to go to the gym.
The key is this. Don't avoid the gym or exercise or something because you can't do what you see the people on TV doing.
Yeah.
They have trainers, they make their living that way, they're getting paid for it. There's a lot. Don't imagine that you're supposed to be like the people you see on TV. Those are artificially groomed to look like, super fit people that you're supposed to try to emulate. Don't do that. Do what's reasonable within your own envelope, but nudge the edge of the envelope all the time.
If you've ever, give you an example, if you've ever watched Blue Bloods or the last Don Johnson TV series, older guys, they both wear vests all the time. That's to hide their gut, Hey, But anyhow, the point being, TV is not real. I have a friend, he's my age. He looks like a 22-year-old. The six-pack abs, the whole bit. But he works out 4 hours a day. That's a part-time job. Most people can't do that. It's too much, So I get that. But let's get back to some of the things we were talking about. The other miracle drug, as long as we're on the idea of losing weight, are the weight loss drugs. And what I find with those is that people don't know when to stop. They do it till they're skeletal. And when you look gaunt, you don't look good.
So this is a general pattern, and exactly the kind of thing I like to think about is general patterns that you're going to see over and over. So one of the big cognitive errors that we make, and it's very consequential, is if something is good, more of it must be better. You know, Victoria Swanson famously said, you can never be too rich or too thin. In fact, you can be both. If you're too rich, you get isolated from all of the people that mean anything to you now. They wouldn't be part of your world if you won a $100 million lottery tomorrow. And the same thing with being too thin. Being too heavy is a problem. And right now we talk about it more because there are more people that are too heavy than are too thin. But people that are a little on the heavy side do better in late life with serious illness than people who are a little on the thin side. So erring a little bit on the heavy side is probably better than erring a little bit on the thin side. And that's probably more true in the second or third part of life than in the earlier stages of life. So there is such a thing as being too thin. But the Hollywood and fashion model industry present us with excessive thinness as if it were a marker for health. You know, going the other direction, look at bodybuilders. They look like cartoon versions of fitness, but it's a pretty unhealthy lifestyle. They do not have long lives. Their health span is shorter on average than it is for other people. Bodybuilding is not a great lifestyle. I respect bodybuilders because it's a super disciplined lifestyle and they have to learn a lot about what they're doing. So no disrespect intended. I actually admire what they put in, but it's a little bit like super endurance runners and cyclists. Past a certain point, you're doing your body more harm than good. If that's because you want the challenge, or climbing Mount Everest would be another example. You're harming yourself much more than you're improving your health. But sometimes we push ourselves past optimums because we're trying to accomplish other things like self-mastery and so on. But if what you want is optimal health, you don't want to look like a cartoon character.
I went out with a female bodybuilder. She looked like 186 balloons tied together. Nice girl, though, nice girl. Now,
You better say that. She'll break your neck. She'll
yeah,
snap your spine.
she used to bench press me. What are the side effects of the weight loss drugs? Are there any?
So the group we're talking about now is called GLP-1 agonists, and they are super interesting. They're pretty new. We're learning more and more about them all the time. But how they're different than other weight loss drugs is that they seem to go after the central nervous system apparatus that manages desires and rewards. And so people eat too much because they want to reward themselves or comfort themselves, or because they have a craving for food in excess of their real need for calories. And the GLP-1s tend to blunt that. But they blunt some other interesting things as well. For example, they seem to help with addictions. They seem to reduce violent and perhaps impetuous behaviors. I haven't been able to find evidence that they blunt positive behaviors. I'm watching for that. Do they reduce some of the joys we experience in life, or do they reduce our craving for things that might be positive, like exercise addiction would be a good example? So far as I can tell, those haven't been among the negative effects of GLP-1s. So this is all emerging information, but the GLP-1s are fascinating. I think they're going to, and they've already become a whole new class of medicine. There's a bunch of different GLP-1s, and they're going to have slightly different profiles. So I predict that in the pretty near future, meaning within this decade, it'll be like, take this GLP-1 if your problem is OCD. Mm-hmm. Take that GLP-1 if your problem is substance abuse. Take this other one if your problem is weight gain. We're not at that stage yet. This is just what I think might be coming down the pike.
Don't they just block the neuroreceptors that make you want to eat, that make you hungry?
They have a more general effect than that, and that's probably because craving itself shares a central nervous system pathway, and they're acting on that pathway. Now, we've suspected that for a very long time, but the pattern of effects of GLP-1s strongly suggests that that is so. And we know the receptors they bind to. So they are really rocketing forward our knowledge about neuropharmacology. Keep your eye on this space because you ain't seen nothing yet.
Now, energy drinks. There are some that are a shot of vitamin B12. and I presume those don't hurt you. Other ones get your heart going 100 miles an hour, and you're shaking like you're a congressman at an ethics hearing. What do you know about those?
Right. There's multiple different kinds of stimulants. What the energy drinks have in common is that they are stimulants. People used to use amphetamines to lose weight before we knew how harmful amphetamines were. And some people, by the way, still do use amphetamines in that way, which is a terrible mistake. The only stimulant that I know of that actually has positive associations in terms of long-term health and cognition is caffeine. And it's not clear that it's the caffeine because decaffeinated coffee has most of the long health-term benefits that caffeinated coffee has. But caffeine itself does improve alertness and can improve performance on certain cognitive tests, but it's a temporary effect. Doesn't have a chronic long-term effect. So when you use other stimulants, you get all the baggage of stimulants and not even theoretical health benefits. Generally speaking, if you want to accelerate your metabolism and your heart rate, sorry, I'm a broken record, but exercise is the way to do that. Walk more. The one thing these stimulant drinks might do for you that you might think is good is, will they accelerate your metabolism and speed up your heart rate? Well, that faster heart rate doesn't translate into making your heart healthier like exercise would. You could imagine that. You could think, well, if I make my heart beat faster, aren't I exercising it? But it turns out not to seem to have that effect. So exercising your body. And in fact, as you get healthier, your resting heart rate will slow down. That's actually a marker for improved cardiovascular health. So you can actually strain your heart, and when you get to a point in your life where you're at risk for cardiac dysrhythmias, they can make those much more likely. They're much more likely to occur right after you have an energy drink than they would be at other times of the day, is what I'm trying to say. In addition, they raise your blood pressure and they may raise your blood sugar. But an exercise doesn't burn calories because of the calories of the exercise. It does a little, but you'd have to be like a marathon runner for that to matter much. The way that they impact your calories is by affecting your metabolism. They raise your metabolism. Exercise can raise your appetite at the same time. So you want to make sure you keep your calories level as you stimulate your metabolism to speed up by exercising. And again, I keep using the word exercise. I don't mean get out there and exercise like Zac Efron. I mean do what's a little bit more than standard for you and gently push that envelope each day.
When we're speaking of heart health, I want to ask you about CoQ10. It's a vitamin, and it supposedly is good for your heart.
I don't know a ton about it.
Okay.
Ask me that next time and I'll be more prepared.
But let's get on it, will you, please? And also, I want to backtrack a little bit because you were talking about processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
The most common processed foods are like salami, bologna, stuff like that.
Okay, so that's two things come up with that, and they're really important. All food is carcinogenic in that the longer it stays in the tube and gets altered by your body, the more carcinogens it produces. This is one of the many benefits of fiber. If there were a miracle food, it would be fiber. No, do not fiber max. Anything with max in it is going to be bad for you. Just as soon as somebody says maxing, I don't care what comes in front of it. Looks maxing, fiber maxing, exercise maxing. I just don't care. It's going to be a bad idea. Just stay away from it, okay? But having adequate fiber in your diet is an anti-cancer drug, among many other things, because it speeds the transit of food through your system. Meat is more carcinogenic than plant-based foods because it traverses your system more slowly and it has no fiber in it. But processed meats are highly carcinogenic. Also meats that are grilled. And I know everybody likes grilling for like the 4th of July and stuff. I'm not saying the occasional like backyard barbecue is going to give you cancer, but every one of those, in fact, does slightly increase your risk for cancer. And eating processed foods like salami and bologna and things like that. By the way, they're processed like that so that you won't recognize that they represent the scraps that a butcher could never sell, right? If you actually knew what was in those things, I wouldn't have to tell you not to eat them. You wouldn't go anywhere near them. So, if you want to wean yourself off processed foods, go watch the sausage being made, and you'll be cured.
Give me an example of four highly processed foods to avoid and four highly fibrous foods to indulge.
So, processed foods to avoid would include almost anything that comes in a box that you can leave on a kitchen shelf for a long period of time. Cookies, crackers, things like that. Almost any children's cereal. They add things back into them to try to make them sound healthier, but I'm not aware of any children's cereals that I would consider healthy. Pastries, but mostly the snack foods that you buy that don't need to be refrigerated would be the largest group of highly processed foods. And while the reasons for that are still being discussed, it might be the preservatives, it might be the extra fructose and corn syrup, it might be the low fiber, but whatever the reasons are, they are clearly associated with increased cognitive decline and increased cardiovascular decline. So ultra-processed foods, UPFs, more and more and more evidence all the time is stacking up against them. Keep an eye on this, and we'll try to get back to you as we learn more specifics.
And four fibrous foods.
So 4 foods that are good for you. Fruits and vegetables, one of the reasons we keep recommending them is that they're filling and they have high fiber in proportion to the total number of calories you get. They also have a lot of micronutrients that are good for you, like flavonoids and antioxidants. If you're going to eat cereals, eat things like oatmeal. Incidentally, we've talked before about resistant starches. And one way that you can get resistant starches and still have foods that you enjoy is to make foods like oatmeal, potatoes, and pasta, interestingly enough, and then cool them for a day and eat them cold rather than hot. And that reconfigures the starches in a way that makes it harder for you to digest so that they act like fiber in your system rather than like eating cookies and crackers. So they're filling, you get the taste, you get the texture. Personally, I can see where you might prefer those foods hot, but if you can enjoy them cold, they can actually wind up being good for you rather than bad for you.
What would be a good bread to eat?
Ezekiel bread is made from sprouted wheats, but if you don't want to use Ezekiel bread, and a lot of people love it, the reason they sprout the wheat is that it makes the bread a little bit sweeter and tastier, but it also has a lot of health benefits.
Where do you find that?
It's anywhere that you can buy breads. Just look for Ezekiel bread.
I go in and ask the 15-year-old pimpin' stock boy, do you have Ezekiel bread?
Now, you should be able to find it on the shelves at the bread aisle.
And does it say that?
Yeah, it says it's Ezekiel bread on it. But you can also look up brands of sprouted breads, sprouted kernel breads, or you can, in our area, I'll say Sprouts carries it. I've seen them at Smith's as well.
Is it affordable?
Well, I don't eat a lot of bread, so I don't know the price of it, but it's comparable. It might be the same price or 50% more, but it wasn't like 2 or 3 times as much for a loaf of bread.
That's one of the problems with eating healthy. A lot of it is expensive.
It is. Finishing the bread thing for a second.
Yes, go ahead.
Whole grains are always, always better than highly processed grains. They contain more fiber, they contain more micronutrients, and they're slower to digest, so they don't bump up your blood sugar as much. But you're right. Eating healthy is more expensive than eating unhealthy. And RFK Jr., I think you're a nutter. I don't think you belong where you are, and I think you're hurting American health more than you're helping it. But you're right about one thing. Eating foods which are less processed and fresher, foods where you can actually see the ingredients in them, is a generally good nutritional strategy, and we should do what we can to make those more affordable.
Very good. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for viewing. I'm Pete Christensen.
I'm Coffee Brown.
Remember,
Don't die dumb.